everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Guestcentric's latest in travel podcast. I have with me today a very special guest, João Trindade, who is the VP of Marketing and Product at Guestcentric, and also my partner in crime, who I consider myself privileged to work with most of the time.
Oh, you'll make me cry, Melissa.
João has over 16 years of experience in the hospitality, travel, and hotel industry, specializing predominantly in branding and design. So João, I gave a brief introduction, but for anyone who's watching and may not know, do you mind just expanding a little bit on who you are and what it is that you do?
Who I am? Oh, that's a tough question to answer. I can tell you what I do here at Guestcentric. So basically, I oversee all the design process for our customers. As you know, we design the websites for our customers, and we do some branding projects for our customers. And so I do oversee all of that, a bit of the product also. We do a lot of usability on our product. So also we work with the development team on that, and then I work with you on all the marketing areas that we work on.
Cool. And so your professional journey, based on like conversations we've had and what I know about you, it's been quite varied, and a lot of different things have happened over your many years of experience. What did you initially do in your career, and what has been your professional journey leading up until today?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a crazy journey. I would agree with that. So I started as a designer, and I had a studio, and we had loads of fun there. So we would just do regular design for. Actually, we were able to get really good companies that would work with us. So we were very lucky. And then I think about, just to show you how old I am, about I think 96, 97. The internet just dropped on us, and we started building websites. And for some reason, we became really good at that. And so we actually won a bunch of awards initially. And so funny enough, this big company, it was more of a hardware company in terms of technology. They would do, data warehouses and telephony for banking and this and that. They came to us because they didn't know anything about the internet. So we created a company together. And after I think probably 6 months, I was moving to the US because we had a customer there. And they wanted to move a bank, and they wanted to move everything to intranet platform. So they wanted everything web-based. And then 9/11 happened. And, because we had all this technology and we were looking into all these accounts and aggregating everything and, doing the whole thing. And then when 9/11 happened, there was something that happened, which was the Patriot Act, that basically made the banks know everything they needed to know about their customers. So where the money was coming from, where the money was going, and the banks had to know pretty much everything. It was something called Know Your Customer Act, which was a part of the Patriot Act. And so because we already were working with everything, that became, my goal then. And so we actually ended up working on that for a couple of years, not only in the US, but then, Europe had the same thing. So I then moved US to France, and then a bit of Greece and a bit of Poland, and So, and then because I met Pedro, stupidly enough, two Portuguese guys met in New York. I had met Pedro then, and then when I moved here, Pedro said, "Oh, I'm opening this new company, this and that and whatnot, and we could use your help." And and then 16 years passed by working, and I think I think always the challenge is to solve a problem, and I think that's what makes you wake up at the morning and just go, "Oh, how do I solve this?" And back in the day was a simple story. Big chains had everything. They had the big companies working for them, and the independent hotels had nothing. So that was the big thing. So how can we build something so amazing that would put these independent hotels that had very poor tools to win online, to do their sales online? How could we do something that would allow them just to very simply to go online and sell their rooms and make their buck without being being milked by the OTAs and the tour operators and all that new things that for me were new things. I honestly, I didn't know anything about it, and so it was that was the journey in these last 16 years. And actually, it's really funny because I think we mentioned this, I think last year, but for me, it was a long time ago that our mission was to level the playing field between the independents and these big chains, and we made it. It's so rare that companies achieve their their goal, their mission, and we actually made it. And the moment that I realized that was, as you know, we submit a bunch of our websites to international awards that have a category for hospitality. And there was this once some years ago. Well, I'm saying some years ago. It was probably a lot of years ago, and it was a very small hotel, actually here in Portugal. Very small hotel in the middle of nowhere, and they had great photos. They had a great story. The guy that owns the hotel is a renowned gourmet guy. His wife is an amazing chef, and so they had all these great stories to tell. And we submitted the awards, and when the results came, it was I was looking at the list, and it was the Ritz-Carlton in London, and then it was Posada Val do Gaio, which was this hotel, and then the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. And I was like, I mean, this couldn't be more spot on. This guy is in the middle of these giants, and they've won the same award. And that for me was the moment where we said, "Oh, I think we've done it. We have to move now to the next stage." Yeah. So I'm not sure if that was if I answer your question.
Yeah, you did. And it's kind of interesting because it sounds like obviously this industry chose you in a sense. Like it was, I think it was 2006 or something that you started, 2007.
I prefer not to talk about dates because then I feel really, really old.
But what did you
it's
sort
a
of
long time ago, like in Star Wars. Yeah.
Long ago in a galaxy far
yeah,
away.
It now seems like a galaxy far, far away, actually.
Yeah.
Looking
well, I guess
at the scenery back then and looking at the scenery now, it sounds like a different galaxy, actually.
Yeah. And I imagine with everything that's evolved and the way that technology just becomes more and more sophisticated, and not only that, but like designing and different things that emerge and trends. I imagine.
You know, technology is part of it, but I think the problem then that you have with technology is if people adopt it, you know, because you might have, you know, the most, you know, bleeding edge technology thing, but if there's no adoption, who cares, right? It's like, I think a good example is like Segway, right? When Segway came out, I actually tried one. They had it on, what's the store? Well, it doesn't matter. There was a store that had it, and I went to try it out, and it was kind of, you know, it was a transcendent experience. It was, I was blown away. How that thing, you know, moved. It was, I don't know if you tried the Segway, and but it was
I
amazing.
haven't. What is a segue? Just
What
to.
is the Segway? So there you go. So my point was completely made now. Segway was something was invented. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's an amazing guy, an inventor, and invented a bunch of different things for diabetics, for special wheelchairs. But he invented this thing, which is called a Segway, which is, it was supposed to revolutionize the transportation industry. And if you try one, you'll see why. It's, you know, it's, I can't even explain. It's a Segway. You know, it's like a Gillette. It's a Segway. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Google it, you'll find it. And people weren't prepared for that. And they really had bad marketing. I think their ads were terrible. But it didn't succeed because people weren't ready for it. And here, when we started out, I don't think people were ready, because most people would say, oh, I'm on booking.com, or I'm on Expedia. That is my internet experience. I don't need to be in there. And rightly so. You know, if you would talk with an hotelier, you know, 15 years ago, they would say, it's not my business. You know, being online is not my business. It's booking business and Expedia business, Miss and Mrs. Smith, you know, all of these guys, that's their business. My business is, you know, getting a guest through the door, say, hi, Mr. Whatever, have a nice stay, you know, making sure the bed was okay, that the breakfast was okay, you know, everything was okay to the guest, to go provide him with a, you know, a great experience while in the hotel. And you know, these idiots here were telling him, no, you need to be online, you need to have your own website, you know, because you're paying, you know, loads of commissions, and people want to book directly with you. And they were like, I don't understand what you're saying. And then, you know, when, you know, TripAdvisor came along, it was not only they need to be online and, you know, to make sure guests find them, but they need to take care of guests after they've gone. So, you know, it's like, I mean, they weren't very keen to get into this, and rightly so. I mean, it's easy to understand. Like, I sometimes try to explain this. Like, if you think of the hotel business historically, you know, during 2,000 years or more, there was no evolution, right? And all of a sudden, you know, if you think about like the 80s, so you have let's say 2,000 years, just for argument's sake. You have 2,000 years where a hotel is an hotel. It's the same business as always. I mean, the beds changed, and hopefully the decor has changed. Not for all, but for some, they did change. And starting at the 80s, everything changed. You know, it was the GDS, you know, the tour operators, then the online tour operators, then direct bookings, and you know, and they were, you know, hoteliers were like, you know, give me a break. You know, let me take care of my business. So yeah. But I think the the minds have changed since then. And I think today, and that's why I was saying it's almost a galaxy very far away. And today, if you talk to, I think, hopefully, any hotelier, they'll say, "Oh no, this is part of my core business. This is where most of my reservations come from." So they were able to recover a bit of their inventory, which was basically they gave it to somebody else to sell it for a big chunk of the last years, and now they're trying to recover that and own it, which is amazing. And to think that we might have a little part on that is just it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see also how like the technology has gotten more sophisticated over the years. And like, I can imagine as a hotelier that the challenge is having a bunch of different things to manage, like kind of disconnected, but then kind of bringing it all together that they can do more with less, is probably a big driver behind that adoption of it, so to speak. Would you agree?
I think simplicity is really the key, and because if you know an hotelier, and it doesn't matter if it's a revenue manager, a general manager, whoever it is, they have a lot of stuff to do, and so basically what they need is to have smart tools. It's like well, I'm always giving the same example, but it still works. So it's like creating a promotion. When somebody creates a promotion on a system, it's good when the system knows where that needs to go, right? Why would you have to create a promotion for the booking engine, and then you have to create the same promotion on your website, and then you have to create the same promotion here and there and post it, and and this is where really the system comes to help, right? Because when, let's say, with us, right, with at Guestcentric, right, if you create a promotion, the system knows where it needs to go, right? And it automatically, once you click on it, it does all these things for you so that you don't have to worry about. And I think that's also one of the reasons why adoption then became easier, because people saw, oh, this is not, it's not going to kill me to do all these things. They are actually simple. I click here, I do publish, and it goes to the booking engine, to the website. If I did map it, it goes directly to booking and to Expedia and to all these things. And I can put some markups and this and that and discounts and increases and all of that you put in, and it takes less than 5 minutes. And when you publish, everything starts to work immediately. And it sends a tweet and it posts to Facebook and this and that, and it's easy. And I think that simplicity, make it simple for them, for the hotelier, is really the key of good adoption, and people thinking, this is my business. I don't have to, hire a new team just to take care of this.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even for us, like working in marketing with all the different things and tools that we use, it's the more consolidation and simplicity for me is a winner.
Yeah, it's like these tools that, for instance, for posting, right? That you put this in one tool and it posts to Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all of this, because people have, funny enough, less and less time. So there's more tools to do more things, but people have less time to get it done.
Do you think we're more distracted because there's more and more tools, so we have less and less time because we're more distracted?
I don't know. I have these discussions, for instance, with designers, and it's just different. So I'm not sure, if it is what it is. So you can't go and pick it's better or worse. It is what it is. So if you think it's worse, then it's a nightmare. Life becomes a nightmare. So I have to believe that it is better. I'm just not sure on if people had the time yet to digest things. So because I'll give you an example, and this is what I discussed with designers back in the day, in the old days, where, for instance, we would get magazines, design magazines like Communication Arts and Print, and magazines like this, and we would digest page by page, image by image, because we would get one of these magazines once every 2 months. So when we looked at that, we took our time to look how did this came about, how did these guys do this. It would just blow our minds, and then we would sleep trying to figure out how to how to do that, and try to get better. Now, if you compare with today, it's hard to have that time, because you go to a website and you see a million images, and so there is no way for us to go slow, because everything's coming very fast at us. So if it's better, if it's worse, I don't know. I still try to use my method, but I see that people have a hard time to digest all the information that they get, and I think that becomes more of a distraction than knowledge. On the other side, we are way more evolved today, on all fronts than we were 20 years ago. So something is getting in. So yeah.
No, I agree. And even with the researching anything, there's just such an overload of information that I think even we sometimes maybe take it for granted, like the amount of newsletters and things I've signed up to, and then they just go to the inbox and not get
you can't
on
see
or
them,
anything.
right?
Yeah, there's too much information. And maybe that's where things like Chat GPT or whatever, when they kind of evolve and you're looking for a very specific thing, because I'm a very easily distracted person. So when I'm Googling something and there's all these results, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I can go down this different angle. And then I, start picking daisies there, and it's not very efficient. But if you have the specific question and answer right there, that's kind of helpful, I guess.
Yeah, I think you need discipline.
Yeah.
It's like, I get from the newsletters, I got this Condé Nast newsletter. I looked at it, I said, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to subscribe for this. They have all these amazing things. I think I saw 2 of those, and I have probably more than 100 on my mailbox that were not seen, because then you can't cope with it, because it comes so often, it's that you don't have the time for it.
Yeah, no, it's very true. All right. Well, moving on to something that I know we touched on it a little bit in the beginning of the conversation, and I know this is one of your top passions, but it's around the topic of branding. So what actually initially sparked your interest in branding and design? And in your perspective, how did this evolve over time into a career focus, and then to sort of where you are today, specializing with working with hotels and so on?
Well, how long do we have here? Well,
we could say an hour and a half.
No. I have to make sure that I talk less than David Chesler. But it's a difficult one, because branding is something really amazing, and it's amazing because of the power that it has and how neglected it is by companies, and especially by hotels. So and to start with, people tend to mistake branding with their logo, which is, I think that would be mistake number one. Um, and branding is, well, the logo is part of the branding, but branding is definitely not the logo. Branding is something way more complex and bigger than the logo. So to make it simple, branding would be kind of the perspective that each person has on a company. Might it be an hotel, a tech company, whatever it is. And there is um, this great experience that Canon did, the cameras,
Yeah.
where they got this guy, and they got 5 photographers. I think it's 5. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 photographers. It doesn't matter. And they only had the studio. The studio had a bunch of things, and so they brought this guy in, and they told a different story about this guy to each one of the photographers individually. So for one, he was a hero because he saved a bunch of people. To another guy, they told, oh, this is an ex-con. Others that he was a psychic, a firefighter. They told a different story about the guy. The guy was wearing the same thing. It was the same guy. So they had the camera, they had, different lenses. And when you look at the end result, it blows your mind, because it's a completely different person that's on those photos. So, look, if you want to look up, or maybe then on this thing, you can put the link of that video, because it's just amazing. And so companies are exactly the same. So if a person goes to an hotel that has an amazing experience, they'll feel the hotel a certain way. But then if you have a bad experience, you'll feel the hotel on a completely different way, right? And this is why branding is so important, because first of all, hotels need a story to tell, and that is part of the brand. But then if you feel about your staff, how you communicate with people, how do you communicate on your website, on your brochures, on your business card, on everything, that needs to be part of your brand. And because we have so little time to connect with our customers, our guests, whoever it is, we need to make sure that that message is really consistent, right? To make sure that we are transmitting our story to that person, and that reflects on everything. The photos that we have, the design that we apply, the logo that we have. So all of that is part of the branding. But the way that we talk to people, right? If you get to the hotel counter, you go, hi, and the guy says, yay, man, how are you, right? That's an experience. But they say, hello, Mr. Blah, 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 how are you? I hope your service, blah, blah, blah. So that's a completely different experience. But can they pick, can the guy at counter decide what to say? No, that needs to be part of your story, what you need to tell, right? And people don't care about this. And that just blows my mind, because when you create an hotel, obviously, if you're not a Hilton, right, because it's one more of the chain, but Hilton itself, they have a brand, they have a story, it's very consistent, right? They have these huge manuals that you need to do this, right? Because they care about their brand. But let's say that you're an independent hotelier, right? You're building your hotel. So it's your baby. You have all these things, and you want to build an hotel to give this experience, blah, 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 blah. So everything related to branding, really, at this point. But then you start building it, and poof, that goes away. You're more worried about, your beds and your, breakfast buffet, and, stuff that really, well, it's everything's important. But if you don't then tell the story that you have with, good branding, then how you're going to do, right? And I sometimes do this exercise, which is, show people a logo of an hotel or a business card, let's say, and ask people, what kind of hotel is this? To see if they can, just by looking at this, if they can figure out what kind of hotel it is, because there are exercises that there are like that. Like if you get, something, I don't know, if you pick anything from McDonald's, let's say, without the yam of McDonald's, immediately it's from McDonald's, right? Because it's the brand, and you immediately know that. But hotels, they don't care, and sometimes they get, oh, it was my grandfather that did the logo. Yeah, so what? So it's the same hotel? You haven't changed it? No, it's not. It's now a new building actually, but we kept it for sentimental reasons. Who cares about your care about your guests? Care about that? They'll figure out that who you are, and they can make that emotional connection, right? Because people usually they'll find the hotels on Booking or Expedia. That's where they do their searches. And if you look at Booking or Expedia, all hotels are the same. All of them. The photos change, the prices change, but if you look at a Booking or Expedia page, all hotels look the same. And so there's a bunch of studies that show that even if people end up booking on Booking or Expedia, they'll make the decision while looking at the website, right? And I'm just puzzled that this doesn't resonate with more people. And why is that? Because when you get to the hotel website, you can feel the hotel personality. I'm not sure if this is a thing. That's the only way I have to explain it. You feel it's like meeting a person. You can look at the photo, but when you speak to the person, you get the feeling, that gut feeling. And it's the same thing with hotels. When you get there, and there are some studies, I think I saw one from Fuel, I think, that they said the three main elements are the brand, the photos, and design. And people are very worried about content and have loads of content and our mission and our story, and and this is what people look at because it's an emotional connection that they get. It's like when I think the most common is like people look at a new iPhone and they don't know the specs. Who cares about the specs? They'll just go, oh, I want it, right? And that thing that people have, some people have with iPhones, some people have with shoes, some people have, do they care about the leather that the shoes have? Maybe not. They'll just look at it, oh, I'm in love with it. Maybe then they'll go and try to find, oh, is this, vegan leather or something? I don't know. I'm just joking. But so the first connection is emotional. You look at it and you say, oh, wow, I want to go. You don't know exactly what it is or if they have availability or if you can afford it, but you wish you could, right? You look at it, you say, oh, I want to go. This looks amazing, right? And that's the emotional connection. And there are some studies that say that represents 2/3 of you getting booked, right? And the other third is actually the rational part of it. Is it close to where I need to be? If you're going on vacation, is it close to the beach? I need to take the car. These are all, rational things that you think of. Is it too pricey? Is it a good price? All these things then will make you book. And then if they book with you or book with Booking.com, that will depend on, pricing, cancellation policies, all of that. But that is all rational. But that feeling is what makes people book, that I want to go. And so you see, so hotels, they spend millions on building the hotel itself, training people, so on and so forth. And then the core things that represent bookings, which is, have a good brand that, represents this personality of the hotel, have great photos. Some people try to, milk this photo thing and, get 300 photos for $100. Who cares about that? Then you want to pick a photo, you can't, and they're all crap anyway, right? Spend more money and get 20 photos, 30 photos, but great photos, because that people will fall in love with that. And then obviously have great design. But and this is then when technology comes to help on make everything very easy, making sure that you have the right menus by default. People come to the website and they want to see your rooms, your special offers, your location, your gallery. These are the things that people want to see, because they came from booking.com. They want to make sure that they're looking at the same rooms that they've seen there, right? They want to see then if you have something special for them, right? And if you got them here, then they want to see the location, the rational part, make sure that it's close by, if it's an event that they're going close by the subway or, whatever it is, or, and the gallery, to see more, to fall in love more, So everything's really simple. Obviously, then if you have a spa or a restaurant, you have to have that. But so everything's really simple in terms of what your customer wants. But then, you start to build and you don't have proper branding, or you just have a logo, or, sometimes we get, oh, I don't know where the logo is. I only have it here, on a piece of paper. Can you work with this? And that really represents how neglected the brand is for hotels, I think. I'm not sure I answer your question. Sorry.
So it's a lot to
rant.
There's a lot to unpack with the answer. Would you say, because you're clearly very passionate about this, and I do agree. I think also especially aligning that with the reality of the property is important, because I've seen it actually the other way around. Like I remember kind of like, I don't know, I think there's that also, just making sure that it really, whatever imagery you use, aligns with the actual reality of what your brand is offering.
So this is, people tend to shortcut things, and for good things there are no shortcuts. There are none. And so these days you have products like Canva, stuff like that have a multitude of logos, and people go, oh, there's my branding. I'll come here, I'll pick one that I like, and there you go. But then this is the problem, right? Because you want to have the online experience of the hotel needs to be an extension of the hotel itself. People need to get to the hotel and say, wow, this is it. I feel like, I was here before. It really, because then that customer is open to you, right? There was no misleading, no nothing. This is exactly the experience that you want to provide. Because then, again, if your staff talks the way they think they're going to talk, and if their experience is whatever the experience they think they're going to have, then you're going to have amazing reviews, and that will bring you more guests in, right? And so it's really so important that I don't even get on how this can be neglected.
Yeah.
And think about this. I don't know how much people spend in hotels because it varies a lot, right? Just the other day, I was talking to a guy. They spent 26 million on, refurbishing something. Some will spend a million, 2 million, but it's always big numbers. And tell me that you can't spend, 15,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 or on the most important thing that will represent your hotel, right? It's nuts. It's nuts, right? That you would want to, shortcut on this that will represent your hotel on everything, online, on brochures, on business cards, on everything. And then when it comes to this, you don't care, and you might spend double on a toilet or something, but you can't spend it on your brand. It's just I can't really understand it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this like nobody does it. No, obviously there are some good examples of customers that really take their time to do it right. And I know of none that hasn't succeeded. That's the amazing part. I don't know of any hotel that really invested on this that hasn't succeeded.
Yeah.
I didn't thought about it until now.
And so you're clearly very passionate about this topic, and in your journey, sort of working with hotels and branding, and then other companies as well. Would you say there were any specific projects or I don't know, role models, as it were, whether they be like artists or mentors that you could like specifically provide examples for that sort of inspired your passion for branding and your trajectory in this field?
Well, that's a tough question, to be honest, because my role model as a designer would have to be David Carson, which is, the best designer in the last, I would say, almost 30 years. It was a guy that really broke the rules. He created new rules, and you would think, a new guy would come along, after a couple of years that would do something as significant as he has done. But actually, maybe because of what we talked earlier, that now there's so many people, and back in the day there were, a couple of designers, and now, everybody's a designer. So it's like photographers, right? Nowadays everybody's a photographer. So I don't know if it's because of that, but so Carson had, a destructive approach to design, which in most cases doesn't apply to hotels. But one of the things that's really fascinating with design, and contrary to art, is that if you're an artist, you can pretty much pick what you want to do, right? You can pick your media, you can pick your tools, you can do whatever you want. If you're a designer, your creativity is narrowed down to an atom, because this hotel has this name, it's in this place, this is the building, this is the story, we need this, we need a website. So, your area to expand your creativity goes narrow. So you have to be, and so I think actually it becomes a more interesting work in that sense, because you have to come up with something really new and really different, and that really represents that customer. And you have, this tiny, I don't know if you can see it, but it's it's a really tiny space that you have to work with. But some people have amazing stories, I don't know if you.
And what would you say with that small like window of creativity? How do designers like what would you say would be like a way to sort of maintain that creativity with that small scope of creativity, if that question makes sense?
Well, I think usually it's because you've made it on the last one and you go, oh, we really made it, you know? I think this is the next one. Oh, we're going to do something completely different on this one. Let's see what it is. And they're all different, you know, and this is something that all hoteliers say about their hotel. Oh, yeah. No, but my hotel is really different. So because it's their baby, it's always their baby, and all babies are different. But it's, you know, you get a window there that you see, oh, I can open this window and it's going to have something amazing. So let's say the last one that we've worked on brand wise was Almaluza Alfama. So this is an hotel in Lisbon. They're going for their third hotel. Miguel, the owner, is a guy that has, you know, this great vision, and he actually gives us, you know, carte blanche to do whatever we want to do, within limits, as always. You know, it has to be a tiny thing. But so Almaluza means actually the Portuguese soul. So that alone opens up, you know, for a bunch of things. So basically, for them, we went and just grabbed, you know, how Lisbon used to be, and we picked on that, you know, on old professions, on old imagery, and gave it a really different look, you know, because hotels, a bit like everything nowadays, they want something really white, really clean, minimalistic, and they all want that, even if that has nothing to do with their brand. And this is the problem, right? You shouldn't have to ask, I want something, you know, clean and white and minimalistic. Is that your brand? Is that what your brand represents? Because if it is, let's go with that. But if it isn't, let's go with what it is. And because people don't care about brand, and they, for, you know, best scenario, they have a logo and, you know, a little book to explain on how to use the logo. For most cases, it's what they have. Then they all become the same, you know. And nowadays, if you go and look for hotel websites, they're all very similar, because people all want the same thing. Because there was an hotel that had a proper branding, where they decided, oh, this connects to this, so we're going to do it minimalistic, but, you know, the rooms are also like that, and our approach, you know, what our staff wears is also very minimalistic, and this and that, and everything makes sense. And somebody built that, and then came another guy and said, oh, I like what they're doing, I want the same, but it's a different brand. You know, we had this customer, and they were very keen on doing something, you know, similar to whatever it was. And we said, no, this is not you. They said, no, but I want it. And so what we did was, I'm not sure if I should say this, but it doesn't matter really. What we did was, just to show the customer, we picked on their logo and we substituted the logo. I can't remember what it was. It was a Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons or something. And we put the logo, we photoshopped the logo into the other website. And immediately when you put the other logo there, the site just crumbled to its feet. You know, it's something so simple, you know, so small, but everything ceased to work on that website because of the logo, because it had nothing to do with the rest. So, you know, that's why having things, you know, made for you is really important. You can't copy, you know, copying is just will not work.
And what would you recommend for hotels or any other business, like, to sort of find their unique look and their unique voice as a brand that's like, you know, not going and looking at something that they see that's nice on the internet and replicating that?
So I think, so every hotel has a story, even if it's like, no, we're just, you know, a corporate hotel. People come here. There's, this business around the corner, and people just stay here because they do business with them and they stay here. That's the story, Or it could be something amazing, like here in Portugal, you have now a bunch of new things, amazing things like, Sublime Comporta, or, Comporta is really in. So you have, stuff like Sublime Comporta, which is amazing, amazing. But then even in Comporta, you have other stuff, this Almalusa hotels, for instance, they have a hotel in Comporta. It's not Sublime, it's a different story, but it's a great story, So your story doesn't need to be the same as the other one, because some people will like that story, some people like this story, some people like another story. So you have to, different hotels cater to different people, but you have to have a story and you have to stick with it, right? And make sure that your brand represents that story, that your hotel represents that story, and that, you attract the right people. And that what people like, right? Because hotels tend to do a one-way exercise. I think my hotel is this, and this is what I want people to know, right? But it doesn't work like that any longer, right? You have to listen to what the person on the other side wants from you, and you have to come halfway there, right? You can change your story, but you have to make sure that your story connects with what the other person wants, right? So you have to listen, because sometimes we think that people like our hotel because of the swimming pool, right? And maybe it's the breakfast and you don't know about it. So you really have to know about this, and brands do evolve over time, right? And if you look at great brands, you'll see that they'll evolve over time, right?
Yeah.
Apple has changed their logo. Nike has changed their logo. It's the same symbol, but the times that they've changed the logo, you'll see they've changed quite a bit, because they want to cater to their audience, right? So you have to know what it is, and you have to know what you also have to know what are your limitations, right? And don't be afraid to also work with those, because people tend to think a lot about the good things that the brand has to offer, but the bad things that they have also need to be in the forefront. I can give you an example. We had this customer, and they were all very, nature friendly and environmentally friendly, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that they did was they had no air conditioning at the hotel, right? And right there and then you see, but they didn't talk about it, and they didn't even talk about how eco-friendly they were, and they had a lot of bad reviews, because people went to the hotel and then they would find out there is no air conditioning, and guess what? It's hot, right? It's an island, so it's hot here, and I'm not liking it. I'm going to give you a bad review. And then we actually changed that, and we've talked to them and said, listen, we need to talk about this environmentally friendly culture that you guys have here, and we need to tell people there is no air conditioning here. Come ready for this experience. This is what it is. And actually, it's so funny that the guests changed. They started to have, a different breed of guests. And guess what? With great reviews, because people that went there, they went there for that experience. And so they were really happy, because actually they have great location. Everything's great, other than the air conditioning that they didn't have. So own your story. I think that would be the message.
And I guess know who you're talking to as well, because it makes a lot of sense that if
exactly.
you don't use the right, or omit certain things, you get like, I don't know, maybe someone with a high end, kind of experience, and then, you have to rough it in the jungle, so to speak.
There you go.
Not very great experience. And it kind of reminds me of the bed and breakfast story that I mentioned earlier as well. Cool. Well, moving along. So you actually mentioned previously, like this notion that everyone's a photographer. You are actually a photographer. So to kind of get into sort of a fun topic, how would you say, like, first of all, what sparked this interest in photography? And how has it like influenced your career and your interest in like sort of the marketing and the branding and design and so on? And also, how do you think it influences or works in tandem with your approach to visual storytelling in terms of branding or design and so on?
Well, I need to correct you. I'm not a photographer. I like photography. I take some photos, but I'm not a photographer.
You take lovely headshots of all of us, I guess.
So I think once again it comes from trying to solve a problem. Well, passion for photography. I had a small camera very early on, so I always loved to take photos. I had an amazing teacher when I was taking my degree, and he really inspired a small group of us to do the best we could. And he actually, it was one of those moments where you can hear the music rising like at the movies, because he picked a group of us, and he talked directly to us and said, you guys can make a difference. And that was very inspiring, I think, for the photography thing. But I think it's always, for me at least, it's always to solve a problem, because you see a bad photo and you go, why is this, why doesn't this work, what's wrong with this photo, and how can I make it, how could I have made it good? And actually this was what happened. There was this customer, and he provided us with these photos. I said, listen man, these photos, what, I mean, the property is not bad, but these photos, I mean, I can see the guy reflected in the window. What is this? And are we supposed to pick from 300 photos? I mean, that will take me more time than take the photos myself, And he was like, okay, so I can pay you and you take the photos. And I actually took the photos. He loved it, but they were crap, to be honest. Terrible. And that really set me into going and discovering everything that I could about photography. And so, as many things in the hotel business, photography for hotels are different from other types of photography, I think. And then again, the story that you want to tell should be reflected on the type of photography, because there's there's the light on the photo, the color on the photo, the contrast on the photo, the grain on the photo. So there's a bunch of things that might put the person on the right mood, right? But one thing that I don't think there is some compromise is on the light. When you look at the room, there are certain angles that you have to take your photos from. The bed can't be cropped. Your windows can't be closed. Your lights can't be off. So there's a bunch of things that whatever type of photo you're taking, these things need to be checked, And we get a lot of that, photos that were took with flashes, and you can see the reflection of the flash in the window when you don't see the photographer. So yeah. I mean, and it's usually if you do a survey on visitors on what is the most important thing that they see on websites, photography and video will be, up there. It's the three of them. It's branding, photos, and design. These are the three elements. So, why wouldn't you care about your photos? Some photos that we get are just terrible. And it's not because, and I get that notion, oh, my property isn't that good. Yeah, but at least have some decent photos, right? If you take a photo with the lights out, with the window closed, or with the drapes closed, because, the photographer can't cope with the light. He doesn't know how to deal with the light that's coming from the outside with the light that's on the inside. Get a different photographer, get a photographer, because I said that everybody's a photographer, but it's not true. Everybody takes photos. They're not photographers. That's why I didn't include myself on that list. But there are great photographers out there, hire those.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I answered your question. I'm sorry.
Well, it was just,
These
yeah.
things, get on my nerves.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think something that I'm a little bit curious about, just because we've been talking about storytelling and, storytelling on the brand perspective, like when you're photographing like individual subjects and stuff, how do you tell that story about the individual, like if you don't know them from a bar of soap? Because obviously with people that it's easy to kind of be like, okay, you have this kind of personality or something, so we'll try and put you like this or catch you like and tell that story that way. But if it's like, I don't know, for example, that project that you worked on with Almaluza Comporta and getting the local people together and photographing them for the imagery on that website, like how did you get them to convey that story in a very natural, organic way that's not too posy or, because I think sometimes that's the pitfall with photography, is that
it doesn't matter if it suits your story. It doesn't matter, right? So I'll give you two different examples. I'll pick on that one from Comporta. So the idea there was, this is a small village. When people talk about Comporta, they really don't know Comporta. Comporta is, this big area. It used to be owned by one family, so it's a really extended area. So when people talk about Comporta there, most of the times they're not talking about Comporta, the small village. They're talking about the area. This hotel specifically is in the village. It's the only hotel in the village. And the idea was, okay, why? So again, the same story. Let's bring, the old professions that we had in this area, but also let's bring the people from the village into the hotel, right? So that when you're coming to the hotel and you're, taking your tour on the village or around the village of Comporta, you might find one of these guys, and so it was try to bring the people from the village to the hotel, but make it also that when people go out, they kind of see the Comporta that we're talking about, and they might find, Miss Slashed or this or that guy, and they'll say, oh, this is the guy, from that picture. And so that was the story. Again, 100% focused on the brand. This is the brand. The brand is, the real Comporta, right? Comporta from the village. So we brought the people in. And so that worked because we showed the people and the profession that they have or had. So a completely different story from this happened with a different hotel, where, for instance, they were getting the wrong crowd. So they were getting, for the experience that they provide, they felt that they were getting guests that were too young to really experience what they were providing. And so what they did was something really smart. They got this couple, on their late 40s, and they took a bunch of pictures with them on the experience, doing the experience that the hotel provides. And that alone changed completely, the guests that they were getting. They started to getting people that related to those guys, and so again, same story, the emotional connection that you have, right? Because people say, oh, this is for me, this is the personality of the hotel, it's people like me, I can relate to these guys, right? They eventually opened a 5-star hotel where they did the exact same thing, and I see other 5-star hotels that that cater, the wrong type of people,
Yeah.
people that come to have breakfast with their, basketball jersey, right? And if you have a 5-star hotel, old European luxury, maybe that's not what you want at breakfast, a guy with a basketball jersey, right? So you have to make sure, because then you have a bit of a pickle. What do? You tell the guy, oh, you can't have breakfast in here with a jersey and with your flip-flops, right? Then you have a problem, because that guy is going to get upset, right? So you want to make sure that you have the right people at the hotel, right? The people that relate with your story.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing because it reminded me of a story. Once I was in a resort in Vietnam, and my sister was the GM there. But like, I literally, when I arrived, I went straight to the beach and I fell asleep on the beach, and I got so sunburnt, like it permanently altered the pigmentation of my skin, that I was peeling for the rest of the 2 weeks that I was
As you
there.
do.
Yeah, but like I think it was day 3 or something that I was there, she was just like, I don't know, like, should you go by the pool?
Don't have breakfast with us,
Like,
please.
you look like an onion. You're gonna frighten away the other guests. But actually, this is, I think, a good segue to go into some other topics more like related to travel and stuff. And like, you're quite an adventure seeker in terms of like a motorbike aficionado. Do you have any adventures planned in the near future?
No,
in that
my
regard?
adventure is life.
Okay, well,
My adventure is working with you, Melissa.
I don't know if that's an adventure
Every day
or
there's
like,
something
whatever.
new. Come again? Sorry?
No, I don't know. Well, it's an adventure, but okay, well, I'll ask a different question, because I do think this is a fun, like, interesting topic for our listeners. But what would you say?
I don't think we have any listener by this point.
No, well, we will. Don't sabotage me. I'm trying to stay on this. What would you say, like, in your, motorbiking adventures, like what is the best experience and what was the worst experience and why?
I don't know if I think I think good or bad experience doesn't relate to places. Well, you can have a bad experience, but overall on a vacation, I think it has to do with people, with the people that you are with, and then with the people that you meet, because you might have, a crappy hotel somewhere where you can even talk to them because they wouldn't speak any other language but their own. But you can have loads of fun still if you're with the right people and if you meet the right people. So, I've done trips alone where I had, an amazing time because I've met so many amazing people, and I had, as many people do, vacations with groups of people that turn, to shit very, very quickly, because some guys want to go there, some people want to go somewhere, and you try to be friendly for a bit, but then you go, no, this is not what I want. I also want to do my things. So getting the right people is, for me, the most important thing, I would say.
And what would you say it's like your favorite so far, like your favorite place or destination to go on this type of adventure? Like, and why would that be?
I
If you had to pick just one, like,
I couldn't. It really depends on what it is, because if you're taking a vacation to go skiing, there will be great places to go, and I could pick one. But if it's for a motorcycle adventure, that place definitely wouldn't count.
Yeah, but that's
right?
more what I'm referring to. It's like, do you prefer sort of like these sort of winding, mountain road like commutes, or is it more desert? Like, what's?
I know that I'm not answering the way that you would like, but again, it really depends on people, right? I have a friend of mine. I used to go, on a surf trip every year with him. So if I would go hike with him, it would probably be a terrible experience because he doesn't like to walk much. So so it really has to do with the people that you're going with. I don't have. I'm being very honest. I don't have a preferred place or a destination. It really depends on who you're going with, or what are you going to do. What kind of vacation are you aiming for? So I don't have one. Sorry.
No worries. Well, we're sort of coming almost to the end of our time, but I just wanted to touch on a few trends, I guess, like before we close. But something that I've been seeing quite a bit in terms of trends for 2024 and beyond is sort of this increase in like short attention span content. So like videos and imagery and things like that. Do you like agree that this is going to be like sort of magnified as the years go on, and why is that in your opinion?
Well, we've talked about this actually, right? Some minutes ago. I don't know on how low the attention span can go. So I'm just curious about that. I'm just curious on how low can attention span get. I'm just curious about that. I don't know. I see, especially on younger people, that the attention span is getting shorter and shorter. My point is, how shorter can it get? So, and this is why, for instance, YouTube and Instagram, they have, these stories, and they need to be, 30 seconds long, and people get almost catatonic looking at them, right? And it happens to me. I've actually created a limit on my cell phone because I was, getting dumber by the day, because you open Instagram and you this very sorry, and then an hour has passed and you're still swiping between videos, and because then the algorithm is so good that they feed you these things, and it's, you can't stop. It's like, I think this is the worst drug dealer that you can have, right? Because it's like, it's what rock stars used to say, oh no, the drugs come to me. And it's the same thing. You don't have to do anything. It just comes to you. You just have to swipe, swipe, swipe. And you're getting dumber by the day. You learn nothing with these things, comparing with what we've talked in the beginning, the magazines that you would, try to dissect everything. Here, it's just, get dumber and more dormant as possible, right? Because you just go and swipe, and so I'm concerned, right? I have 3 kids, so I'm really concerned about that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do, but I'm just really curious if the attention span can get any lower than this. My guess is yes. I just don't know it's how low.
Saying it's just going to be like flash and then gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, but yeah, I agree. And setting those limitations as well to not get like to waste so much time. I have a rule I try to stick to after 7 p.m. Like no screens. They're just gone unless it's the weekend and I want to watch a movie or something. But but not in general. Well, to sort of end it, well, like not end, but like sort of expand a little bit on this, just on more of a positive slant, I guess. What are some ways you would say that like hotels or other businesses could use this type of content to really, you know, tell the good story about their business and like really reach customers in like a better way? Or do you have any examples of like companies that do this that really stand out to you?
I think it's so absurdly simple that it's painful. I think and that's my struggle, right? Because you could say, oh, I need, you know, a rocket scientist, but that has, you know, skills in juggling and something else, right? That you couldn't find that guy. It's real simple. You have to know your story. And if there's an hotelier that doesn't know his story, there's something really wrong. They usually know their story. You have to know what customers love about you, right? So you need to know that. And then you need to get a really good, when I say really good, it doesn't need to be big, but you have to see work that really shows that they're good. You have to get a good design agency that can make your story into not a logo, you know, but into a set of things that you can use and use with consistency to tell your story, right? Might it be a website, a brochure, an ad, you know, whatever it is. And then, you know, hotels like to do, you know, your Valentine's Day, your Easter, your Christmas, New Year promotion. That is consistent, that people see the same image, that when people see a glimpse of, they haven't read it, but they know, oh, this is from XYZ. I know this is from XYZ. I just need to look at that and to see. And if you think that the time that you have to touch a customer is so tiny, the more consistent you are, the more chances you have to convey your message to them. So it's really simple, you know, get a good photographer, you know, look at the work, see if it's really good. And because people, we do, you know, part of the process of doing a new website is a design qualification. And we get a lot. We ask for examples of stuff that people like. And sometimes we have website people said, oh, I like this website. And we ask, why do you like it? And people say, I like the photos. Yeah, but that's a different property. Do you have photos as good as this one? No, I don't. So why don't you get them? You know, it's so simple. Get a good photographer, pay. You know, you need to pay. And there are, you know, there is no way to cut corners. If you want a good thing, you have to pay. You know, yeah. I don't know if many cases of good things that you can buy cheaper. You know, some good things are cheap, but if you want to buy them cheaper than the price they're at, they're not going to be as good, right? Yeah. So, and how much is this? You know, because if you think it's, you know, 5,000, 10,000, I don't know, but let's say it's around this price. What is this for an hotel? How much did you pay for, you know, some things that don't represent your hotel? You know, so it's real simple, actually. And the problem most of the times is that hotels don't think about this, but then they put their logo that they've created, even if it's on Canva, they'll put it everywhere. They'll put it on their bed sheets, on their pillows, on everything, and then they can't change it anymore because it's on everything that doesn't matter, right? What does it matter to have your logo, on your pillow?
Yeah, it just seems a bit behind the times with everyone
Yeah,
doing
I
searching
mean,
for trips online and not, no one's going to go into it's not like, looking for a house that you're going to go
yeah, and
into
old
the hotel
hotels
room.
used to do that, the Grand Hotel XYZ and so on and so forth. They used to do that, but actually, we have at the office. I think it was something that Philippe's father put together, which are a bunch of old stickers from hotels. The ones that the people used to stick on their suitcases. The old-fashioned way. And if you look at those ones that are very old, they actually are way better than what we have, because you look at one of those stickers and you know immediately what kind of hotel it is.
Yeah.
So it's not your logo on your pillow that will do that for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that makes sense. Yeah. And I totally
I'm sorry,
agree.
I don't want to piss off anybody with this, anyone with this, you know, with my vision of things, but it's just sometimes it's so hard because you see a good property, right? They could do so much better, and they've cut it short, and it's
You're giving tough love, Joao. Don't worry. Like I don't think the truth can be a tough pill to swallow, but
yeah.
needed nevertheless.
Well,
Great. Well, we're actually at the end of our time, although I have just one more question before we go. With this year sort of coming to a close and we're almost in like the new year, is there anything that you're looking forward to specifically in 2024, and why?
oh, I'm looking forward for anything that's good, and for any challenge that might come our way. I like challenges. I think challenges are what makes us, uh, think of new solutions. And every time that we're thinking of new solutions, we're moving forward. So I like all of that. I don't know if you had anything specific, because the topics nowadays, it's, AI and things like that. So I'm not sure
Just
what's
anything
the
in
angle on
general.
this.
It's an abstract question, and
Oh,
whatever
okay.
comes to
No,
mind, you know.
no, my wish for this year, just based on this conversation, was that, you know, hotels would think more about their branding and do better, because they definitely can do better. It's difficult sometimes to do worse. Um, uh, that they would take better photos of their properties, that they have better stories to tell, that they even think about their stories, because that would make us do better websites. You know, sometimes we struggle with that because, the material that we get, we have, and we're not magicians, that can make things out of nothing. So, and designers are always keen to do better and to do new things and to evolve and to provide better experience and new experience. And so, yeah, I would love that for this year. I would
Great.
love that. I'm not sure if I answer your question, to be fair.
No, that was a very good, very detailed answer. So
But because we've been so much on topic here, now it's the only thing that I can think about.
you've got a one-track mind. No, but it's good. And yeah, speak from the heart. That's pretty much the only requirement in this in this podcast. Cool. Well, thank
Because
you
I
so
think
much.
just I mean, to wrap it up, I think then technology will help you with all the rest, you know. But if you don't have this story, because sometimes people, go, oh, I bought this platform, let's say, Guestcentric. They bought the platform, they subscribed the platform, and they think, oh, because I subscribed the platform, I'm going to do amazing now. That's not going to happen, right? You need to have a strategy. You need to have, a brand strategy, to present yourself in the right way. Then you have to have a revenue strategy to make sure that people have a reason to book with you. So, and obviously this is difficult for the hoteliers because basically the same reason we started this conversation with, because, there, the world is changing quite a bit, and there are a lot of stuff that hoteliers have to do these days that they didn't have the need to do 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, but now they do. And the ones that come aboard with that idea and they say, yeah, we need to do this, are the ones that are doing great, and we have customers that do 50-60% of direct reservations, and those ones, all of those ones have all of this that I said.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, I mean, everybody can do it. But you need to have, the proper foundations to get there. So if
Yeah.
you don't invest in that, nobody else will do it for you.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I think that's a good on a good note to sort of wrap up the session today, and also something for hoteliers to maybe think about in their strategy for the new year. So thank you for that, João, and thank you very much for participating in the podcast. It was great to have you, and thanks to everyone watching this, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Melissa. Bye-bye.